medically unexplained.
We're live again. Here we are for a second time.
Hi.
Yeah. So we started the podcast a while ago, but due to technical problems, it failed, and all of our hilarious jokes and charisma were wasted. Do you want to just slag off the listeners again, like you did last time, while I sort out our Christmas hats?
Yeah, and check if we're live. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so this week I did a different show, probably better than this, if I'm completely honest, by with a channel called Squared Circle Relics. It's all about wrestling
Geometry.
trading cards. No, it's all about wrestling trading cards, what I used to make, and if you're not interested in that, then I'm not interested in you, and you should probably forget about Christmas, because no one likes you. So,
Christmas is cancelled.
yeah, for you, unless you like wrestling cards. Anyway,
it's not cancelled for us though, because I spent 17 hours sorting this out. Right, just look at the top of your head now. Can you do that? I think you can. Right, here it comes.
I can't,
Here it
because
comes.
I still can't see the.
Ooh, bam!
Oh.
Christmas hat. And there's one for
Yes.
me as well. Excellent.
And I have found the live, which is even better.
Right, so what a ridiculously long and confusing introduction. Today we're going to be talking about the strangest places in the world. It's quite a large topic, so we've just selected a handful, and obviously we'll be doing a sequel to this later on. But maybe you'd like to just launch straight into one of your weird and wonderful locations.
Yeah. I want to talk. He's on the thumbnail. It's a spoiler, but I want to talk about the lovely Kim Jong-un and his country of North Korea.
Jongy. There he is.
Yeah, Kim Jong-un. He's an interesting fella, and actually a lot of the weirdness of North Korea is down to him and his family, really. They've obviously been in power for quite a while. Interestingly, Kim Jong, he was educated in Europe. I don't know if you know that. He spent his formative years in a boarding school in Sweden. No, not Sweden, Switzerland. Why would a super rich person get sent to Sweden? No,
Switzerland,
Switzerland.
Neutral.
Yeah. I was watching a documentary about him a while ago, and apparently one night he just got a bit bored, so he sent his Secret Service people to go and find his old school friend, his best mate, who he'd not seen for like 15, 20 years, go and find him in Germany, and just picked him up and flew him to North Korea. He wasn't keen on going.
With consent? No, with no consent.
No, with consent.
He just put a bag over his head.
No, the guy was saying they only spoke Korean and he only spoke German. So
how were they friends?
No, Kim Jong could, but the people he sent to this guy's restaurant, yeah, they didn't speak any German. So that was kind of one of his interesting things. So I've got some good facts about North Korea. Would you like to hear some?
Absolutely, I'd love to hear some Korean facts.
So fact number one, I've got loads of these. So because they've pissed off like every other country in the world, basically, they have no sort of international deals, and so they're really short of a lot of resources, and fertilizer is one of them. So every Korean toilet is linked up to like a sewer kind of network, and all of their fertilizer comes from human feces.
That's very green. Well, brown. That's a very green-brown policy. They're leading in kind of anti-climate change policy. Surely, shouldn't we be commending them for that?
I don't want to eat corn that is grown in your
They do that in China as well. A lot of garlic comes from China. A lot of people don't know that, but the garlic that comes from China is grown in shit.
Really?
But I don't think come on. I mean, you don't taste. The garlic doesn't. I don't think it tastes like it's come out of somebody's.
Have you ever had North Korean garlic?
No.
It's famous for tasting like shit.
Is it? I didn't know that.
It's a delicacy. Moving on. The CIA, they believe that North Korea are the biggest exporter of methamphetamine in the world. So crystal
Brilliant.
meth. Most of that is apparently made in North Korea, which is good if you're a meth addict, I suppose.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that, Young. What was the name of that podcast that you were on?
Squared Circle Relics.
Squared Circle, because I'm just looking at Young's face, and his head is like a square and a circle at the same time.
Well,
Was he on the podcast?
no, I bet he likes wrestling though. I'm sure he does. One of a Kim Jong and his head related fact is North Koreans must have one of 15 approved haircuts. You're only allowed 15 different haircuts.
Wow. Are you allowed to be bald? Are you permitted to be bald? Would we be?
Well, I'm currently looking at the haircuts, and there is not a bald one.
Oh my goodness!
So maybe they just execute the bald people.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe they let them leave, but no, they probably just shoot him and kick him into a ditch.
Yeah. A really weird one I find is there's no internet to speak of in North Korea. They have an intranet. So it's a government controlled. It's not even internet, is it? If it's intranet.
No, I mean that's to stop them hearing about North Korea from foreign perspectives, so they don't understand that they're inside an iron curtain, and they don't have access to information that would turn them against their state.
No, they only have 16 websites.
Yeah.
None of which YouTube. So we know they won't be listening to this. Poor bastards. And no porn. So I don't know why they even bother having computers.
Well,
really.
I just don't know if this is related. I can't remember if it was North Korea or South Korea, but there's a huge population crisis at the moment. This has been in the news recently, where I think it was South Korea, but they have a shrinking population that it's going to be a serious problem within the next 5 years. Nobody's having kids, basically, because it's too expensive. They can't afford it. They're choosing not to. And,
well, speaking of a shrinking population, another fact, due to the generations of malnutrition in North Korea, they are on average 4 inches shorter than their South Korean compatriots.
Yeah, wow. But if you can fix that with a Kim Jong haircut,
yeah, you can just get the high top one. Yeah,
add a couple of inches and some big shoes. I think he's guilty of that, isn't he? Wearing big shoes and trying to appear larger than he actually is. He was great in what was the name of the film that the guys from South Park made?
Oh, with the dudes out of Pineapple Express.
Yeah.
Was it not The Dictator, or was that the
no
Sacha Baron Cohen one?
No, I think the I'm so lonely song. I'm so lonely.
Oh no, that's Team America.
Yeah,
that's what you're thinking of. Yeah,
America.
It's good in that. Kim Jong himself actually. North Korea's greatest film director. He's directed several films himself. Yeah. He directed one which he hired a woman to be like the star of it, and then kidnapped her and married her, only for her to disappear a week later. He's also directed what I can only describe as a very low-budget Godzilla film, where Godzilla seems to be played by my ball bag. It just looks like testicles. It's like all worst special effects ever. But yeah, he hails and he wins awards at every year at a film like the Grammys kind of thing that he puts on for himself.
Yeah, exactly. I imagine like I mean, I know it's tyranny and it's not funny, but I just imagine him awarding himself all of this, and all of these people like nervously clapping. Oh, you're the best. There aren't any other directors because he's killed them all, and he's like, yeah. But it turns out I'm actually really good at directing. So here's my award.
And speaking of killing people, he had a half brother. You probably remember this. It wasn't that long ago, but it was in the news. He had this half brother, and he sent a team of like female James Bond style agents out to Kuala Lumpur, where his brother was like hiding, I assume, and they seduced him and then poisoned him with pens that they jabbed him with. A load of. I just imagine like these really
unnecessarily
busty...
elaborate way to murder somebody.
You'd have thought it'd be better than that. Like it would just be one injection. But, he had all these little pen.
He accidentally fell on 15 pens full of poison. Well, it's like they're trying to cover it up, but at the same time, just not covering it up at all. Like if you're going to do it, just do it. Is there any danger of him being held accountable for his actions anyway? I don't think there is there?
No, I think that's the problem, isn't it, really? He's treated as a god out there. I mean, he's made up a load of things that people just believe because he said them. Like, he doesn't poop is part of the propaganda.
I mean, he looks like he hasn't. He looks like he's holding on to one that's been building for a fair few years.
Yeah, he invented the hamburger. That's another one that he's put out there.
Hence the name hamburger, right? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's
Hamburg, North Korea.
He probably is a Hamburg, North Korea that he's sort of created just for that story. There's rumours that he put on so much weight in 2014 that he had to have surgery on his ankles because they both fractured because he was so fat.
Wow.
But that's not been confirmed. He is a scary dude. In all honesty, he's got nuclear weapons and he's a bit mental. He's really good friends with Dennis Rodman. Do you remember Dennis Rodman?
Yeah.
The extravagant NBA star of the 90s.
Yeah. He was also. He wasn't he the enemy in what was that? Was Sylvester Stallone the film where he freezes him at the end? Isn't that Dennis Rodman? Or am I being racist?
That's Denzel Washington.
Oh no, he's not. Is he? No, mate, it's Wesley Snipes. It's
Wesley Snipes.
So you did it as well. Racist. Okay, we all. Oh no, there's a double racism. We're going to get cancelled for that.
He claims he completed an 18-hole golf course in 11
with one shot. All right,
in 11 shots, which is even better somehow.
Amazing.
And it's just mad that no one like calls him out on this stuff.
Yeah.
But of course, if you do, you disappear. Or you might not even disappear. He might like literally hang you in front of your family.
They just send like a group of librarians to stab you with pens or whatever it is. It's a weird,
sexy librarian.
Sexy librarian. So.
But the punishment system in North Korea is also a really strange one. They have this thing called generational punishment. So if you do something wrong, your parents are also punished for it, and your kids and their kids. Yeah. So it's like you can have 4 generations or however many generations of your family there are. You're all responsible for it, and basically everything is punishable by death. So that's pretty rubbish. So that's North Korea. It's a mental place. I'd quite like to go, but I know I'd get in trouble.
You will now. This has probably been archived. All of your comments, you're not allowed in.
I just say North Korea too many times, and we're on the blacklist now. But, I don't know. North Korea, odd place, odd place.
Very strange. Very strange
Yeah.
indeed. But is it as strange as my offering?
See.
We're going to go to South Australia,
Ooh.
to a very strange place in the middle of the desert. Hang on, there it is. I love this sign, which you'll be able to see in a couple of seconds, which is like a kind of hallmark of living in this location. It's called Kuba Pedi, and you can't really run. It says don't run, no running. Beware, just in general. Just beware this while you're walking around, and don't walk backwards. You're not allowed to walk backwards there, especially while holding a video camera, because it's absolutely riddled with mine shafts. It's a mining village, mining town, I should say. Sorry, that is the local population. Hang on, I've got to find the welcome to Kuba Pedi picture.
Unmarked holes.
There it is. Look at that. It's an opal. It's one of the largest opal mines in the world. I think it is. It was certainly in Australia, and the local population live underground. The name Kuba Pedi comes from I'm going to say this incorrectly. Kukatha Pankala, and I think that's the language.
Right, okay.
Originally, it's Kupa Piti. This is from the Aborigines, the local tribes. Kupa Piti means white fella's hole.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a kind of like underhanded insult.
Yeah, no, I love it when like indigenous people like take the piss.
Yeah.
You know, it's great. Oh yeah, you should call it this, mate. You know?
It means good luck. No, it doesn't. Yeah, just that they were fascinated by the fact that these miners, this town kind of built up in a really inhospitable part of the desert, where it gets up to like 45 degrees. I was reading this temperatures, and it's like, hang on, it's the high temperature is like 45. I was thinking, I live in Spain, in a city called Zaragoza. We get that. It's 45 degrees here in the summer.
Yeah.
So it's not really that different from living here. But we live in houses. We don't live underground. Maybe we should live underground. Well, these the local people, they built these opal mines, and then they started kind of using the mines to sleep in, because it was so hot above ground, especially during the summer. I think it's just really dry.
Yeah, it's a very different kind of heat, I guess. I mean, that place looks like fucking Tatooine off Star Wars.
Well, ha.
Oh,
it's in a load of films. I'm going to ask you to guess some of them in a minute.
Okay.
But it's been featured because it's such a strange landscape. It's one of the most. It's on the top 10 list of places to visit in Australia, which is saying something because Australia is huge. And it's also got a load of weird places to visit. But because it looks kind of Martian, it looks kind of otherworldly, it looks a bit apocalyptic, it's been used in a ton of films as the kind of the backdrop. A little bit about the opals. So there's 250,000 mine shafts. It's basically just like Swiss cheese. That whole area is just absolutely full of tunnels.
Yeah.
There's hang on a minute, 70 opal fields that they've discovered, and a whole load of fossils as well. They found an opalized fossil skeleton of I'm gonna Umunosaurus, an Umunosaurus. That's a made-up word. That's just. I think that's the local Aborigines taking the piss again. We used to have loads of those around here, Umunosaurus size.
Until you white fellas moved in,
idiots. They found gold. They found oil. It's just a very rich seam of minerals. But the caves, the tunnels themselves are so elaborate that it's become a tourist attraction. They've got a lot of very nice hotels that you can stay. There's even a church. Here's a view of the church. I don't know if you'll be able to see that yet, but you can see the way that the shape of the ceiling is from the drilling machine that they've used to bore into the rock. But all of these places are kind of, they have this ethereal glow because of the lighting and because of the type of stone that is underground, and it's just a really weird kind of eerie place to visit, above ground and below ground, because on the surface it looks like Mars, and then you go into the tunnels and it's just like kind of like an alien mothership.
That church looks a bit like I had the displeasure of having a colonoscopy once, and I was able to watch it happen on a little monitor.
Was there a church in your colon? Is that what you're telling me?
My anus looks like that. Yeah.
I was not expecting you to make that comparison, but okay.
It just reminds me of it, Ben. Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Hang on, let me see if I can find the hotel. There it is. There's a nice little bar. It looks lovely. That's the reception.
I understand the idea of living underground. I know there's some places in Spain that do that.
They do. It's very common here. It's very common. And I mean, originally that was because of the economic crisis, like post-Franco, everything was collapsing. People just started burrowing into the earth. There's some near to my place, and it was a kind of like a sign of poverty that you were living in a cave. But nowadays it's quite sought after. Like, people want to live in caves. I went and did a volunteer. What's it called? Workaway, where you go and you stay with someone and you work on whatever project they're doing, and you get free house and board. And I went to the south of Spain in Andalusia, in a place called Badajoz, and this British couple had bought some caves and the land. You get all of the land around it. Well,
I saw a TV show the other day that's on Channel 4 over here called I Bought a Village. Yeah, and it was an older British couple that bought like all these little houses, but then behind the front of the houses they were just dug into the cliffside sort of thing, and there were all these lovely.
But it's awesome, man. They were in the middle of the desert. You wouldn't really know that there was anything there from the surface, but then you go inside, and the guy was a builder, so like he knew what he was doing. But imagine this: you feel like you want more space, you just literally just dig a new room. And that's what they were doing. That's what I was working on. They had like their solar panels, so they had their own electricity. They had a well. They had their own water. And there's a constant temperature that's like a cool. It's just the right temperature depending on the season, because obviously it stays cool in the summer, and you get a warmth that comes from the surface during the winter, like stores the heat in the walls. So they don't need central heating. It's crazy. But yeah, the same thing in this place in the desert is exactly why they live underground. I've already shown that one there.
How many people live there, Ben? How many people live in
question, to which I'll very quickly have to find the answer. Why would you just throw a question at me like that?
Sorry, well, I'm just thinking of
1,437.
Right. How many pubs are there? How many pubs per head?
They don't really need pubs because...
Well, there was one in that little picture, a little bar, but I imagine there's a crap load of pubs.
This is what I'm saying. There's more like a kind of... Like every home has their own bar, basically.
Okay,
you can just make your own. Like, that's what the locals... Just I didn't get too many images because I didn't want to overwhelm you with... pictures of caves, but I recommend anyone that's listening, our listener, go check it out because it looks amazing. The inside of these caves are just incredible. Let's go back to how famous it is around the world. So it's been in a lot of different films. They've got
a quiz.
One thing just before I forget, they have a very unique golf course there that doesn't have grass.
It'd be more weird if they just watered a golf course. That'd be even stranger.
Yeah, not very eco-friendly. The golf course that they can only use at night because it's too hot. Oh. So it's a golf course that you use at night that doesn't have any grass. It's kind of It's kind of unique.
Feels a bit. It's like one of those old municipal golf courses that you get in the UK that are always attached to a council estate, and like no one plays golf on them. You just ride around on stolen mopeds,
yeah.
smoking crack.
Exactly. Oh, I miss those places. They've got an art centre. But yeah, what films do you think that this place has been in?
Well, I'm going to go for Star Wars because I think I've already guessed that. With Tatooine, I assume it's been that. What
No,
about?
it wasn't actually.
Oh, yeah.
No.
What? Star Wars hasn't been made there.
No.
Oh,
I think that was in Spain. But some of those scenes are in Spain.
okay. What about The Martian
The Martian?
with
No.
Matt Damon?
No. Stars on Mars. That's from this year.
I never heard of it.
No. All right. Well, think more Australian. Think local.
Mad Max.
Mad Max was filmed there. Yeah. Beyond the Thunderdome. They've got a load of leftover stage props, like the old, like converted cars. So it just really does feel like you're walking into Mad Max world.
Cool.
Something relating to a desert planet where people can't see. With that bald fella that looks like us.
Vin Diesel. Oh
No, the other one that's like... Is it Vin Diesel? He looks like a baby. He's like an adult baby with muscles. Yeah, Vin Diesel.
Yeah, Vin Diesel. I know what you mean, but I can't
Pitch
think
Black.
of
It was
film.
called Pitch Black.
Okay.
The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. That was filmed there. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. That's a good one.
What else? Ground Zero. Sounds familiar. I don't know what it is. Red Planet. That was filmed at
Oh yeah, I've seen that. That was
Kangaroo
rubbish.
Jack.
Oh, I've seen that. That's a good movie.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat was filmed there.
Oh.
And they've got a racing game that's being based there called Forza Horizon 3. It was released in 2016. But yeah, there's a good racing track as well that's quite famous. It's just a really interesting place to visit. I think it's kind of unique, and I'd recommend that we crowdfund some money to go on a trip. And
Yeah, let's do it.
let's do it. Let's go. So, listener, for every listener listening, we need how much would we need? Like, I don't know, probably 10k.
Yeah, that would probably do it. Yeah.
So, Ginger, if you can send us 10k each, that'd be great. Right, where are we off to next?
A lovely little place, really little, called Sealand.
I know
So-
about Sealand. I've heard of Sealand.
Oh, you probably know more than I do. So the Principality of Sealand is an unrecognised, they call it a micronation, and it's basically an offshore platform in the North Sea. It's just off the Suffolk coast. Are you from Suffolk? Is that where Staines is? I don't
No,
know.
I'm from Stevenage, which is in Hertfordshire, which is next to London.
So is Suffolk? I don't know. My
See-
geography is not my strong point.
Clacton-on-Sea. It's near to Clacton-on-Sea. I can see on the map there.
Okay, that's that's where Sharon's from. Anyway, since like the mid '60s, it's been occupied by this family who all seem a little bit mental, and they've claimed it as a sovereign state. There's been various takeovers. A lot of it based around pirate radio. So.
Yeah.
There was this guy, I think, what was his Paddy Bates, has been the owner of it for the majority of its sovereignty, and he set up a pirate radio station, and sort of just landed on this they call. I think it's called a Mounsell Fort. It's like this offshore thing that they built in World War II to defend shipping lanes coming across across the channel, and he just went there like in the mid-60s and said, right, this is mine now, and I'm setting up a pirate radio station. At some point, another pirate radio station wanted to use it, and they invited Paddy Bates out to some meal, I don't know, somewhere.
Stabbed
they
him
got
with
him
a load of pens.
they just got him off the
platform.
The platform, but he left his son there, and whilst he was off doing something else, these mercenaries had been hired, and tried to take over, and they kidnapped the son, but I'm not exactly sure how, and the details are a little bit sort of hazy. But imagine there's like a group of mercenaries. I'm imagining that they're armed, and then there's like a kid basically just on this platform on his own, and they take over and kidnap him. But at some point, he turns the tables on them, and he's kidnapped all of them. Like one kid. It's like Home Alone, isn't it?
It's genuine. They've gone from radio piracy to genuine piracy.
Yeah, but they really wanted this like Sealand place to do their own pirate radio station because it's like been declared a principality or a micronation. There's no laws there. The only laws are like set by the guy who Major Paddy Roy Bates, who like first claimed it. So he's like
is that a title that he's given himself, or is he actually a major? Did he have a military background?
No, he had a military background. He was in the RAF, but not like really. It was a bit like my granddad, who always claimed he was in the RAF, but just like sat in Jersey listening to radios throughout the Second World War, and I think Paddy Roy Bates was the same, but obviously qualified as a major. However that's done.
I know a thing about Sealand. I don't know if you're going to say it though. So, have you got anything about titles coming up?
No, you go for that. Go for it.
The reason that I mention about him being a major, because the reason I'm familiar with Sealand is that they were one of the first places or principalities to start doing the title document sale. So you could be you could choose to be a lord or a king or a whatever, and they can do that of Sealand because they own the principality. Now, obviously, everybody, well, maybe a few years ago, got addicted to becoming lairds of Scotland. You know, it's slightly different in Scotland because you have to buy like a square foot of, well, not a square foot, a square like centimetre of land, and if you own the land, you can give yourself the title of a lord, and you can refer to yourself as being a lord or a lady. But in Sealand, you just give them money, and they say, "Yeah, you're a lord now," and it's official because, like you say, they make their own legislation, make their own laws, and they can do that. So I always like the idea of being a lord of Sealand. I think they had different tiers. I can't remember how it worked exactly, but like I don't know, you could be like the janitor of Sealand for £5, but if you want to be a lord, you've got to give them 50. You can't be a king though, because they can only have one king.
Well, that attack where this rival pirate radio station people, the guy who made the attack was this guy called Alexander Achenbach. I think he was like Austrian or something, but he just claimed to be the prime minister of Sealand, and that's why he was doing this attack. So they describe it as a rebel government coup, which, considering there's like 4 people involved,
wow,
seems a bit grandiose, you know. But yeah, they give out passports to people that they like, and they can revoke their passports. There's a case where they gave a passport to someone, and he cancelled his German passport, and then he upset them, and so they took his passport back off him, and so this guy was left without any nationality for a time in the 70s. Like, wow. He thought, oh yeah, I'll just use my Sealand passport. I imagine they're like, I don't know if they're even printed. I reckon it was like the kid like just drawing them
Just
on a
with crayon.
post-it
Yeah.
note. Yeah, this is your official document.
Well,
Yeah, so there's been a few sort of attempted takeovers, but the Bates family have always sort of kept it within the family. There's a story about some workmen wanted to do some work to a buoy or a buoy. I don't know.
Yeah.
What would you say, buoy? That was like about a mile off the platform, and the kid was like 12 and got like a machine gun and started firing warning shots at these guys.
course
Well,
he
we're not
did.
doing anything. We just got to fix this buoy. Which
Yeah,
is
well, he's been
absolute-
kidnapped once. He's obviously got serious trauma. He's grown up on a platform in the middle of the ocean. Like, he's not a normal kid. He's got access to guns. Yeah, I mean,
Wow. And there was a bit of a sort of fraud case brought against them when they sold 4,000 fake Sealandic passports to citizens of Hong Kong for £1,000 each. That was when like Hong Kong was going back to mainland China, and people were just looking to like keep a British passport or like get something remotely British, so they wouldn't have to be ruled by China. But they just said, "Oh yeah, we'll take 4,000 of you," and no one bothered checking. And yeah, they made like loads of money by selling these fake
Wow.
bullshit passports to the
I'm just
Hong Kong people.
looking at their merch, which is probably made in Hong Kong, because obviously they can't print all of this stuff in their own. Well, I don't know if they've got a print press on Sealand, but for example, there's you can become a baron or a baroness for €47.99. That's not bad, is it? It looks very official. Become a lord or a lady. That's cheaper. That's $23.99. Or that was slightly more expensive. Become a sir or a dame. That's a knighthood for €100, and then become a count or countess for $239.99. I don't know what any of those things gets you. I think the count or the countess comes with a. It looks like it comes with a passport, actually. I don't know if you can hear my neighbours, but they like to have a conversation directly outside my front door at full volume, and it really, really winds me up. But that's like a common thing in Spain. They don't talk like at normal volumes. They just shout at each other. It's
or
not
in
really.
private.
It's not a conversation. It's just a competition to see who can make the loudest noises. If you've ever been to a Spanish bar, it's literally just people screaming at each
Yeah, I
other.
remember from our last visit, I was like deaf by the end of it.
It hurts. It hurts going out in public. It's genuinely a painful experience. Well,
Do you remember Pirate Bay, where you could
yes.
download stuff?
Yeah.
So they tried to buy Sealand in
Oh, really?
2007. Yeah, they were getting, like everyone was clamping down on things like Pirate Bay and BitTorrent and all that, weren't they? They were like clamping down on that, and they offered a hell of a lot of money. 750 million euros.
That's why I don't understand how the whole pirate model works, because, I mean, obviously you're outside of the legislation, so you can broadcast what you want, but where does the money come from? How are you making money out of that?
What? How did Pirate Bay make money?
Yeah.
No idea. No
Exactly. I mean, the idea of having a space where you can be outside of the law, yeah, completely understand that. I understand that those mercenaries probably wanted that place so they could do like illegal boxing matches or a lot worse. But other than that, like the whole pirate broadcasting, I don't understand how they make money. I'm
Well, I
so
think
sorry about my neighbours, by the way.
It's all right. I think Pirate Bay was more like a download in torrents, wasn't it? And I think you could sign up and get a subscription with Pirate Bay when they first came out, and it meant that you wouldn't get all the viruses and stuff that you normally get when you download from a BitTorrent site. So that's probably how Pirate Bay made their money. But I just can't believe that they're willing to offer 750 million for what is essentially like a double garage on bricks in the middle of the ocean. But it was because copyright laws and the measures that they were facing in Sweden, who were trying to force them to close the site, didn't apply on Sealand because those rules didn't sort of weren't recognised out there. There's a National Football Association of Sealand.
How can you play football on a platform in the middle of the ocean? What if the ball? If you take a shot and miss, how many balls do they have for the game?
Well, just around Sealand, there's just hundreds of footballs for like miss kicks. They never really qualified for anything, surprisingly, and they'd pull people in, but FIFA never really recognised them, so they were never going to get into the World Cup or anything like that.
And also, do they have 11 people living on that platform? I thought it was just that bloke and his son.
No, they'd ship people over, I believe. They also one of them who. Passport holder, I guess, this guy Michael Martel, he represented the Principality of SeaWorld in the World Cup of Kung Fu in 2004.
Interesting.
And he came last,
Nice.
so that wasn't great. Red Bull did a skateboarding event on the platform back in 2008, which was apparently quite good. And the Bates family still own it. You can go out there and stay there.
I don't know if that's a good idea, judging by the behaviour of the son, who just starts firing weaponry into the ocean. If you just try and paddle out there on your canoe, make sure that if you're heading to Sealand, make sure that you have consent beforehand, or you might get shot.
Yeah, Jesus. See, I mean, I think it's probably. They've turned it into a bit of a hotel. And
it's an Airbnb.
You could go and stay there. I'm not sure why you would. It looks kind of rubbish, and I don't know. It's apparently a 5-hour swim back to the mainland, which the fact that they advertise that makes me think that people have done that.
Yeah. An easy commute to work in the morning.
So that's Sealand, a weird little place, but I quite like how English that is in its sort of conception.
There's
the set up country.
There's quite a few of those platforms around England in different points in the channel that were, as you say, they were designed to either protect or defend during the Second World War. I can remember staying in a place in the south near to Clacton-on-Sea. You can see it from the shoreline. There's a load of these gun turrets. Obviously the guns aren't still there, but the structure is still there itself. You can canoe out to them. It's really eerie because you go out on this small canoe and you're just surrounded by these towering blocks in the middle of the ocean. Weird. A lot of videos about that on YouTube. But now, with these people roaring behind me in the corridor, I'm going to take us to our next location, which is in fact Spain, which, as you know, is
a whole.
He's just gone in. Thank God. Oh no, he's answering a phone call now. Unbelievable! You wouldn't get away with that in England. I'm not being anti-Spain. I love living here. I love the people. I love the culture, but. Sometimes it's just manners. This place, dun dun dun, is called Trasmoz, and it's very close to where I live in Zaragoza. In fact, it's part of the province of Zaragoza. That mountain in the background, I think, is Moncayo, or that might be slightly to the right of that image. I don't know if you can see that yet, but why do you think this place, which looks very nice, it looks beautiful, it looks idyllic, why do you think that would be famous? What could they possibly have done? What do they have? What are they hiding?
Is it some? Oh, I can see it now. What are they hiding in that castle? Is it? Is it something to do with vampires?
Yeah, you're not far off, actually.
Really?
It's absolutely jam-packed with witches.
Cool.
This is the only place in the world, as of current year, that is excommunicated and cursed by the church. There was a bit of a local conflict, which is always the case, between the town, the whole town, or the mayor of the town, I suppose, the authorities of the town of Trasmoth, and a local monastery around about the times of the Spanish Inquisition, which, as you know, was when they were accusing women, and a lot of men as well, of witchcraft, and they invented a variety of different tests, which basically involved killing you, and if you died, then you were innocent. It was genius, absolute genius.
If she drowned, she's a witch.
Yeah, if she doesn't
if she
drown,
floats, she's still a witch.
yeah. And a lot of people were massacred. It was very similar to what do they call it? McCarthyism. The accusation in the US during the Cold War, the accusation of somebody being a communist was enough to condemn them, and it's a very powerful thing. If you get into a dispute with your neighbour and you're like, "So, can I borrow your lawnmower this weekend?" No, I'm using it. Oh, okay. Right, and then you nip down to the local town hall and say, "Next door neighbour, witch," and within 24 hours he's being burnt alive, and that's how you can deal with your problems. Or if you make an advance on somebody and they're not interested in you, just get them burnt.
Being a witch.
But Trasmoth, they had a dispute with the local monastery because they had access to the river. The main water supply in the area ran first through their town and then down the hill towards the monastery. And the monastery wanted to divert the river, and they were like, "Well, no, because then we won't have any water." And there was just this one monk in particular who he just wouldn't let it go. It's just like, we want your water, so you should just. And the mayor was like, "No, mate, we need to, like, we use water almost every day. And I don't care how clean you think you need to be." And then he started writing all these angry letters to the Pope, and he actually got the Pope involved. To the point that he convinced everybody that there was witchcraft going on, and this whole area in the mountains is famous for witchcraft and magic, and there's a lot of stories about like werewolves and like just mad stuff, brujas, the witches. But he said this town in particular was absolutely full of witches, and that's just what they were doing every night, and he could hear all of the sounds of witchcraft taking place. And the Pope was like, "All right, okay, excommunicated." So they don't, as an excommunicated town, they don't really belong to Spain. They're kind of like Sealand. Like, they're not. I mean, if you view Spain as a Catholic territory, they're outside of that territory.
So have they sort of embraced it now, and they're not Catholic?
Absolutely. They were also cursed by the church. I don't know if you knew the church could do that, but they cursed the village and all of the people in it.
Right.
And a lot of them were killed, obviously, but some of them remained. And then in more modern times, they just completely lent into it. And now it's quite... They'd have these recreations of the Inquisition, when these people turned up and started executing them all for being witches. And that's quite a harrowing image there. It's quite realistic. You see these poor women being dragged somewhere by rope to be executed. But I will say, in the background there is a barbecue. And that's a very Spanish thing, because they're just like, oh yeah, let's watch the show where everybody in the village gets murdered, and then afterwards we'll have a bit of a barbecue and a knees up. Like they celebrate it. It's not kind of a morbid event, and it's the whole identity of the village now. I'd again recommend anyone to go and visit. It's in a really beautiful location. There's a metal sculpture with a witch flying on a broom, and in the background you can see maybe that's Moncayo. I can't remember which mountain it is, but it's just such a beautiful location. It's always the case in Spain that you have these places of incredible natural beauty, and then they just start murdering each other. It's like, what? Just look out the window, man. What's wrong with you? Just relax.
I really like the fact that they've embraced it. I live near a place, and my knowledge of history is second to none. But I think when they did the Doomsday Book over here, I don't know if that was like anywhere near the same time as the Spanish Inquisition, but like they did the Doomsday Book, and there's a town, or a little village rather, near me called Gotham. It's spelled Gotham, and people think it's got some association with Batman, but it doesn't at all. But in the Doomsday Book, it's noted that they send all the village idiots from like the East Midlands to go and live in Gotham, and in real terms, that means they sent everyone with learning difficulties to one place to live, and so anyone who's from Gotham refuses to acknowledge that they're from Gotham because they're descended from like village idiots.
I wonder how many politicians have got some kind of connection to
Gotham, probably. Yes, but it's nice that these guys embrace it. It looks wicked. Why did we not go? Can you just go?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, they're not going to stop you going.
I don't know how much they're embracing it. Like,
well, look, this is the front door. This is somebody's the front of their house. Every year they have Witch of the Year, so somebody gets a little plaque on their door to say that they were the Witch of the Year in whatever year it was. And then there's just loads of history. Like there's this woman here, as is often the case with witchcraft. There are a lot of local women who knew about herbs and how to heal, and the type of thing that was maybe the beginning of medicine, not modern medicine, but the beginning of the concept of medicine. And they were judged for that. And this is a statue commemorating one woman in particular. I can't remember her name, but she was a local healer, and she got murdered for that. But yeah, it's a beautiful place. They've also got a street that it's named after the goal of Naim. I don't know if you remember that match between England and Spain. Well, no, it was a league game. I don't know anything about football.
No, why are we pretending? Why did you go? I don't know if you remember.
But it's one of the most famous goals in history, because it was this guy lobbed it from the halfway line. Naim was his name, and he there's a good joke about it. It's Naim was the only person to lob semen from 60 feet. Because he
oh, I get it now. It's a cum joke.
Yeah, it's a cum
now
joke.
I'm interested.
But there's a street named after him in there, and there's just lots of little witchy statues and there's lots of little hidden things. You can go on a witch trail, not trial, a witch trail around there, and it's just a cute little village in Spain that I would very much recommend anyone visiting. It is still cursed, and it is still excommunicated to this day, because the church can't be bothered to forgive them. But like I say, they've lent into it, and they've got a whole tourist industry about it. So go check it out. It's next door to Tarazona, which is a good place for festivities as well. So yeah, it's just a nice area, beautiful area. And I believe that you've got a location from your experiences, somewhere that you've lived.
follows on quite nicely with the witch thing. I'd like to talk about Cornwall as a whole. It is quite strange, but I want to prefix this by saying I absolutely love Cornwall and would one day like to return. So I'm not
I don't
slagging it
think
off.
you're not allowed back, are you? Surely you've been
Probably not.
excommunicated.
Yeah, well, talking about witch stuff, the whole pagan aspect of Cornwall is still very much alive and well. I lived in Cornwall for a period, and the first time I went into a pub, I met this bloke. I was just having a quiet pint. I probably wasn't. You know me. It would have never been a quiet pint. Might have been a pint of Smirnoff, and I'd have been getting Larry and being a twat. But I'm going to say, for the sake of this story, I was having a quiet pint, and there's a man sat opposite me, and I think he had a bit of that thing that Michael Jackson claimed he has. Where you lose pigment in your skin.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something very different then.
No, but so he had like quite an interesting face, and I remember looking at it, and he obviously caught me looking at it, and he was quite angry at me for staring at him. But he was a very old man, I'd say in his 80s. Probably still would have kicked my head in, but he threatened me with witchcraft. He said to me, "I'm a witch." Which I replied to him, "Don't you mean a wizard?" And he said, "Don't be stupid. Wizards don't exist." Which
Yeah,
I
idiot.
found quite interesting. And he lived on a caravan in the car park. I forget his name.
Oh,
But
yeah.
he turned out to be a lovely old fella and was really interesting. Yeah, so Cornwall, for many years, they've wanted to be independent of the rest of the UK. When I was living there, I lived quite the other side of the river. The river was called the Tamar. So Tavistock was actually in Devon, and where I lived, Calstock was in Cornwall. At Tavistock, there was a single lane little bridge that went over the river, and I lived there for about 4 years, I think. And in those 4 years, there must have been 18 attempts to blow that bridge up.
By you?
No, I'm not sure if I was ever involved. I remember being there once when it was on fire, but that might have been coincidence. For the sake of this podcast, it was definitely just coincidence.
Yeah.
But this bridge had been there for centuries. It was like this old stone bridge, and it was one way of getting in from Devon to Cornwall. The other way, of course, is the massive bridge built by that famous bridge bloke who you'll probably know. I can't remember his name. Built loads of bridges.
I do know, but I can't remember. That's annoying.
That's at Plymouth, which is a massive bridge, which you can't really ever blow up. So there were lots of attempts to blow up the bridge, but I almost said we, but they'd only go for the little bridge, which only one car could get across anyway at a time. Because the other one was far too big. So that was like a little quirky thing about Cornwall. Lots of odd festivals. The Mummers. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. That was a celebration.
What's that? No, I don't think I have.
Well, it's probably a little bit frowned upon now, but it just seems an excuse to do blackface. Really, I don't know what the purpose of it is,
Classic.
but everyone paints their faces black.
Yep.
And wears like a little hanky on the head. And
they don't do an accent,
around.
do they? Please tell me they don't.
No, I don't think. No, if there was no accent, it wasn't like who was that guy we were talking about before, Mike Reed.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. So that was one festival that they did. One of my favourite ones was a thing called wassailing. Have you ever heard of that? It's an old pagan ritual.
Yeah, I have heard of wassailing. Yeah.
It's to promote growth of apples on apple trees, and you'd go out on on a certain night. I think it might have been winter solstice actually, and you go out with a load of toast and a load of cider. Of course, I was into all of this because it was a great excuse to get hammered.
Yep.
But you go around these orchards with like torches, like fire torches lit, and someone would be dressed up as like Gollum or something. I don't know what they were meant to be dressed up as, but you'd have to dip toast in cider and then hang it in the tree to encourage apples for the following year. That was. Oh, I can hear you looking it up as we speak. But that was a good festival. One of the best things or worst things that happened, we mentioned it briefly off air. Again, probably hammered, but I got into a fight at a local pub for some reason, can't remember why, and I got my ass kicked, and then later, for some reason, I went and put the window through on the pub, like it was the pub's fault.
I remember that.
Like the building had attacked me somehow. So I thought, I'll get you back by giving you a black eye in the window. It was a lovely,
beautiful stained glass window that you broke, wasn't it?
It was.
It's like from the 11th century.
Yeah, it was a bit naughty. And everyone knew it was me because it was a tiny little village that we lived in.
Sorry, go on.
Go on.
Was James Acaster from there? I remember listening to James A. You know who I'm talking about, the British comedian. Yeah. He was talking about a festival in his village, and I don't know if it's your village, but there's like these firemen on either end of a bridge that have to blast their hoses at a barrel that's on, and they have to get it to the other side of the river. And it's like, because you should maybe explain that the problem, the difference between Cornwall and Devon, and all of these, because the river's the part of the divisive aspect of that, isn't it? That people on one side.
Yeah, I guess back in the day there was probably some actual war. I don't know. But in terms of Cornwall and Devon, it seems like nowadays it's more of a friendly rivalry.
What is it about the scones, or should I say scones?
Oh, yeah, no, scone.
Yeah.
What did you say first? Scone.
Scone.
Oh, okay, I thought you said scone.
Yeah, scone.
That was like
scone or scone.
Another way of saying it wrong.
You put the cream first, and then the jam, or the jam first and then the cream. Which one's the right way?
I don't know. I just used to mostly have the cream.
Cram it in your mouth.
Nice bit. Yeah. But no, another thing that we used to do on Boxing Day, people would come down the hill from the Devon side, and we'd go on the Cornish side of the river, and we'd have like a few thousand eggs that we'd just launch at each other for most of the morning. And then we'd go over in little boats and bring them back across the river and go to the pub and get hammered again.
Of course.
Just going back to the putting the window through the pub. So I woke up the next day, sort of mid-afternoon, feeling quite rough and quite sorry for myself. I went downstairs to have a cigarette. Front door, and outside my front door were I can't remember exactly, but at least 7 plates of jelly, which confused the fuck out of me. Not being a local Cornwallian, I went and looked it up.
That's never what they're called.
And apparently, no, Cornish, I think is.
Yeah.
No, I just made that up. Not being Cornish, I had no idea what this meant, so I had to go and look it up. That's an old pagan thing, because of course jelly is traditionally made by boiling bones, isn't it, to get gelatin? But I guess that's a bit scary, a bit intimidating.
So what was it, a warning? To somebody?
Yeah, so it's the warning that people are pissed off with me, but not just one person, at least 7.
But the problem is, you love jelly, so you probably just thought,
so you don't know what's in the jelly, I suppose. So I got quite scared and went around. apologising, and I think I paid for the window. But yeah, that's Cornwall. I love it.
Lovely
but
place.
It's full of strange little things. Paganism is still very much alive there. I quite like the idea of paganism. It's not about devil worship, is it? It's about living with the seasons and that, which I quite like.
Nature.
Yeah, and I think just the fact that Cornwall has been taken over largely by people like me coming in from the outside, buying up the houses so that actual Cornish people can't live there, gives it a sort of sense of rebelliousness among the actual Cornish people, and I like that. It's kept its sort of pirate feel to it. We'll have you for the summer, but the rest of the time, just fuck off.
Yeah.
And if you take the piss too much, we'll blow up some bridges. Yeah, we'll give you jelly and burn a bridge. We'll try and burn a bridge that's made out of stone, because that's how hard our fire is. So yeah, I love Cornwall. But
Weird
it is
place.
mental.
Weird place. I'm gonna just throw in a quick bonus at the end here to wrap up, because I'd like to reference where I live. Where again, Spain. It's Christmas, and there's a very strange local tradition that I just want to mention at the end. Bonus round. Here's the bonus. Bonus special. For this bonus special, I'm just going to play a short video, so you have to shut up. All right?
Okay.
Here it comes. Right, so that was the Cagatio. I don't know if you can see this on screen at the moment, but basically in Catalonia, it's a Catalan tradition, but I think it happens in other parts of Spain as well. They have this little log man. Look at his face. Look at him. It's
creepy,
pure evil, pure evil. And at Christmas, I discovered this because I was in Barcelona a few years back, and there was just a whole marketplace full of these logs with faces. And I wanted to buy one. It's like €50 for a log. I was like, I'm not paying €50 for a log. Maybe I'll just buy the special blanket that goes over it, €60. What about the little hat? €70. It's just a made-up thing to extort tourists. But no, it does have a genuine tradition. And what happens is they just put this log in the living room or wherever. Sometimes they do it in public, and the kids come in and they just beat the shit out of it, literally. Literally beat the shit out of it, because the idea is that you have to hit the log with a stick until it poos out a present. And the present is then you throw back the blanket to see if you've given it a good enough beating. And sometimes, it depends on the parent. They say, "Oh no, you got to beat it harder than that. You're beating like a little girl, Steve. Come on, show me what you got." And they'll go for it, and then, oh look, there's a present's come out, because you've literally beaten a present out of this log. I don't know when it started. I don't much care to find out. I just find it a very strange and disturbing tradition. There's a song that they sing as well, right? I'm going to give you the English translation of the song from Catalan, right? It goes like this. Do you remember? Wait. You know the word tio? Tio is like uncle, or it can mean like dude.
Okay.
So it does contain the word tio. So it starts like this. Shit, Tio. Hazelnuts and do you say nugget or nougat? Nugget, right? Hazelnuts and nuggets. Do not shit herrings. They are too salty. Shit nuggets. They taste better. Shit, Tio. Almonds and nuggets. And if you don't want to shit, I will hit you with a stick. Shit, Tio.
Oh, I'm doing that with Lil this Christmas.
Do it. I think it teaches a lot of valuable lessons for kids.
Well,
Like,
she's had a pinata before and they never last.
exactly. You can get what you want in life by using violence. That's what you can teach to your children, and you can also make very specific demands about what you want while you're physically abusing the log. But yeah, that's a little festive reference to Spain, and one of the very many very strange traditions that they have over here. Visit Spain.
Feliz Navidad.
Exactly.
That's a weird one, man.
And I think that's a good place to wrap up. We will be revisiting strangest places in the world because there are so many of them, and I've got a load of extra places from my research that I'd like to throw into the mix. So we'll definitely be coming back to this topic. But for now, I guess we'll say Merry Christmas if you're listening at Christmas time. If not, then, fine.
Screw you.
Yeah.
All right.
Forget about it.
Good show, mate.
All
Good
right.
show.
All right. See you later. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Medically honest.